Welcome to the Jackson Lake Land Base Healing Camp. I'm Doris Bill, a member of the Kwanlin Dün First Nation, which established the facility. The Healing Camp has gained national attention for blending together First Nation traditional healing practices and modern therapy. It's a special day at Jackson Lake. The Kwanlin Dün First Nation is showcasing its healing camp to Yukon political leaders and the media. The First Nation has an established track record in the successful delivery of land-based healing programs going back 20 years, but it has never had a permanent camp. That dream became reality in July 2010 with the help of John Adzurza, MLA for Kwanlin Dün and member of the Yukon Party government. He successfully lobbied his fellow politicians to fund land-based healing at Jackson Lake. He had his own struggles with alcohol before turning his life around.
I walked in the dark for many years. And let me tell you, it's lonely, painful, depressing. You don't even realize the sun is shining. And every day you wake up, you wonder if it's the day you're gonna die. That's the life of an alcoholic, wondering where you can find another drink.
John, who has since passed away, believed land-based healing could help First Nation people conquer their addictions. To date, about 65 people have been treated at Jackson Lake, including Jack Bogart. His life has been filled with traumatic events. Jack's life fell apart when he was taken off his reserve in 1966 and placed in an orphanage. By the time he was 14, he says he was a full-blown alcoholic.
I spent 3 years in the orphanage before I got adopted. And then I was adopted into a Dutch family. And I was abused in the adoption family, but as well as in the school, in the Catholic school I was in. I started drinking at a young age. I lived with a lot of turmoil. All my relationships ended in a bad way. I have 2 children, and I have 2 grandchildren. I don't get to see them because of my alcoholism. I was getting really tired of, you know what, waking up sick. I was getting sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I needed a place to go to surrender myself, to find myself again.
Jack says Jackson Lake started him on a healing journey. He still keeps in touch with traditional and modern therapists from the camp.
It really started to find where my soul was, to start working with my trauma. Being a land-based, being outside of the city, being on land-based, getting connected again with all things around me, you know, from the trees to the water to the sky to the earth, you know. It was really relaxing for me.
I've been sober 10 days.
It's a feeling Norah McIntosh can relate to. She struggled with her own addictions and was on the verge of suicide when she reached out for help.
This is the beginning of my journey for my healing, and I'm going to do a journal of all the days that I'm here. All the walking sticks, the artwork's coming back, the sewing's coming back. Everything, all the ideas are more fresh. They're I mean, like 10 years ago, I was like, I wasn't like who I was right now. I was I was young, naive, but now it's like I walked those 10 extra steps that were really hard steps, but to deal with alcohol and drugs with those steps, and then now waking up, it's like a whole new me, and I miss this person.
Norah says she didn't want to go outside to a treatment center or to the detox center in the city. She says this land holds special meaning for her.
I can't believe they're going to be tanning hides and making fish nets. That's the stuff my mother did. I'm very proud of being part of this, actually. I didn't know this was going to happen. I didn't even know this was going to be a healing camp or anything like that. I didn't realize what I was really applying to, but all I wanted to do was have help. And I'm getting it. I mean, I'm getting a lot of support from everywhere I'm looking.
Although it is just a half hour from the city, the camp is far away enough to give the feeling of being on the land. But it's still not only a connection to the land that is important at Jackson Lake. Jeannie Dendis is Director of Justice at the Kwanlin Dün First Nation. She says it's vital First Nation people have therapy programs that are delivered by their own people.
It's a program that's very deeply rooted in First Nation principles and philosophy, and that's what makes it unique. It's unique in that we've developed it from that perspective, and rather than developing a mainstream program and trying to incorporate First Nation culture and value and principles into it, we've done it the exact opposite way, and building a program that's deeply rooted in our principles and culture, and then incorporating mainstream into the program. You know, it's something that should grow, it should, you know, expand into all of our communities. It's, you know, I know it was a dream and a vision of John and Zertza to see that, you know, and I think that it's definitely achievable. It's something that, you know, we as First Nation people need. Approaches that are delivered by us. We need approaches that are deeply connected to our culture and our land, and cover all aspects of us.
Over the last 5 years, Jackson Lake has held healing camps for both men and women. People from all cultures are accepted into the program. Participants live here full-time. They sleep in wall tents, eat in a common dining room, and shower in a trailer. There are no electronic devices of any kind. Participants are involved in a variety of land-based, cultural, and ceremonial and contemporary activities. The program is carefully designed to address the spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical needs of participants. It involves a lot of hard, emotional work as participants explore many different issues in counseling sessions and group circles. They are challenged to be honest with themselves about past experiences and hopes. But in order to be accepted into the program, participants must first demonstrate they are serious about healing.
It takes a lot of dedication. We look at where they're at in their lives, how much they want it, and then we base it on, there's lots of other criteria as well around risk factors and you know, where they are at medically and physically. But we try to mitigate the issues that they have as much as possible to help them to have the experience that they need.
My apprentice started very young, and apprenticeship started very young.
Psychologist Bill Stewart and cultural counselor Phil Gansby were involved in the design of the programs used at Jackson Lake. They both say the combination of modern therapy, traditional teachings, and holistic programs blend very well together.
Because I think mainstream culture historically has robbed First Nation people particularly of their identity. And the land is a place where we can help people rediscover who they are or remember who they are. And there is no goal that's defined by the methods we're using. The methods seem to work well for people from any culture or race to achieve their own goals. So we're not defining what a person's goals could be. We're offering a methodology.
Traditionally, people had a relationship with the land, right? A really powerful relationship with the land, and what we know is that on the land that healing is happening always, right? There's both dying and rebirth, kind of, and it's a constant thing, and so the land is kind of an interesting thing, because when you go on the land, right? When a person goes out into the forest, for instance, you right away your sense of hearing gets better, your sense of smell gets better, your spidey sense kind of heightens. So in some way, it's like you come alive when you go into the forest, right? And I think that's because that's where we belong. That's where we can come and be ourselves, kind of, and it brings that out of us.
For Norah McIntosh, that connection to the land was critical. But while she successfully completed the program, she has relapsed back into her addictions since Jackson Lake. And that presents a challenge for traditional healing programs. At the time, Jackson Lake had no aftercare. The First Nation didn't have permanent funding to provide it. Jack Bogart says it's critical to have permanent aftercare in place.
In any treatment that you're very raw, you're very open, and there's no aftercare out there, and so you end up leaving kind of hurt and distraught or something, right? And it's really hard for a person like myself to go, wow, you know what, I got to go back into society, and okay, I know I got to avoid this place, I know I got to avoid these people, and I know where my safety is, right? But I know at the same time that I have to change my beliefs. I have to change how I live every day. I have to learn how to use up my time wisely.
Jack knows firsthand the importance of having support after leaving treatment programs. Since Jackson Lake, he was diagnosed with intestinal cancer. The news sent him reeling. After a 2-week drinking binge, he was found frozen in a snowbank. He spent 2 weeks in ICU, where he had 140 seizures during a 3-week period.
I didn't know how to deal with it. I really took it in a bad manner. And as I've always known as a young child, to run from everything, right? That's all I know is to run. And that's what I did, was that I ran. And it got me into a lot of trouble. I'm here just for today. I can make it just for today of not drinking, right?
Yeah. Well, they say that if you...
Through it all, Phil Gansby has been by his side, providing some much-needed aftercare on a volunteer basis. Jack can't say enough about what that means to him.
Phil is, he's always there at any phone call for me, at any struggle. It's a tool, right? I'm learning about tools. I learned about my tools at Jackson Lake, and it's a decision to make, right, about how to use those tools properly. And so when we don't use our tools properly, that's when you start getting relapses and slips and everything else.
In the fall of 2013, Jack Bogart and 11 other men successfully completed the Jackson Lake program. Although he still struggles, Jack says after his relapse, his life is in a good place now. He says he's using the tools Jackson Lake gave him, and he wants to use the time he has left wisely. He is finally allowed to see his grandchildren and wants to volunteer to help others who are struggling to overcome their addictions. As for the Jackson Lake camp, it too has obstacles to overcome. Everyone involved knows how important the camp is to the very survival of its participants. The Kwanlin Dün First Nation has received funding to design and deliver aftercare, but funding to keep the camp operating is a constant struggle. The First Nation hopes stories of the program's many successes emphasize how important it is that Jackson Lake continues to make a positive impact in people's lives. At the Jackson Lake Healing Camp, I'm Doris Bill.